Hey students, how you doing? I'm Mark D'Alessandro. I'm your instructor for Communication 110 Public Speaking for this spring semester 2018. And I just wanted to record a quick video to say hi. Wish I would have done it actually about a week ago. And just to talk a little bit about your first presentations and what's coming up in the next module. So we're finishing up module 2 this weekend. And you'll be finishing up your discussions of your audience analysis. Hopefully you've posted your audience analysis already, and you are in the process of completing others, answering their questions, or perhaps you've already done 4 or 5 of those, and that's great. If you could do at least 4, that's fantastic. Hopefully everyone will get at least 2 or 3 people, if not more, to complete their surveys. Just a good task to go through to gain some experience doing a survey and to think about how you might gather information about a group that you would be speaking to in the future. So this first video that you'll be doing is really just a welcome video. It's what I'm doing right now. This will be a little longer than 2 or 3 minutes probably, but hopefully not too much. And so really this is just to get out of the way those introductory things like what your major is, what your name is, where you're from, what you're interested in, just to provide a little bit of information about yourself so we all get to know you a little bit. We don't meet in class. We don't have the opportunities to carry on conversations before and after class. So this first video provides an opportunity to get to know each other a little bit, get comfortable with each other, and to get out of the way those kinds of things a lot of people want to do in their first video. We used to not have this as a separate assignment. It incorporated what you'll be doing in the next video too. It's just 4 videos. We've added 5, and that's a requirement actually that the University of Arizona and other universities are looking for in a introductory public speaking course. They want you to do at least 5 presentations. So this was a way of adding a presentation and allowing everyone to get comfortable with this idea of recording ourselves with our webcams or whatever you'll be using. And it's different, no doubt about it. I'm still gaining comfort with it as well. We don't have an audience to speak to, but just know that your classmates and I will be looking at your video eventually. So if you can try to imagine us out there watching your video as a group, maybe you get at least some feel for what it's like to be in front of the class. And certainly if you have some anxieties about public speaking, you'll probably notice that they may not be as acute when you're speaking to your webcam in the comfort of your own home, but it's still a little bit of a anxiety-provoking situation, and some of you who aren't particularly anxious in a public speaking situation might find talking to the webcam a little interesting, at least initially. So you see I'm dressed rather casually. I'm in my home office, and excuse me, for this first video, certainly don't feel like you have to be dressed up. In fact, the first 2 videos, be yourself, be comfortable. Now, however you are comfortable presenting yourself, I would encourage you that if you're doing your recording in a bedroom or your dorm room, that studio apartment, that you at least tidy things up a little bit. I'm always amazed that folks will do a video with their bed unmade and clothes laying all over the place. So I encourage you to tidy up at least a little bit, and be aware of your environment. I noticed that a couple of you have already uploaded videos, and those are pretty good ones to look at. I haven't reviewed either of them completely, but I did watch about the first 30 or 40 seconds of each of them, and they looked to be about what we're looking for this assignment. Good examples. If you want to see somebody else's video before you record yours, I don't have a problem with that. So you might want to take a look at those too briefly. But be aware of your environment. You can see I've got windows here that could cause a problem with lighting. I have left my blinds open a little bit just to let in a little bit more light. I've got a lamp behind me. I've got a life cycle exercise bike behind me. hopefully at least nothing's coming directly out of the top of my head to make it look odd. So be aware of those kinds of things. Depending on what kind of lighting you have, sometimes a ceiling fan spinning can give a little bit of a strobe effect. So you might want to be aware of that, and also be aware if there's adequate volume. You might want to definitely review this video before you upload it and make sure that it does what you want it to do. Don't obsess over it. I don't want anyone to feel like their videos have to be perfect, because if you gave a presentation in the classroom, it would not be perfect, most likely. So they're going to have imperfections. This is not meant to be an exercise in recording your video 15 times and editing and trying to make it absolutely amazing. I would encourage you to do as little editing as possible. I don't necessarily require that you don't do any editing, but once you go through more than 2 or 3 edits, things might start to get choppy. And so I also don't want you agonizing over things. I mean, I know sometimes I hear students saying they recorded their video 5, 6, 7 times, and that's probably excessive. You know, you might want to do it 2 or 3 times, especially until you get comfortable with the whole process. But as you can see, this video of mine is not perfect, and yours isn't going to be any either, and so that's fine. I do have some notes here, and it's always good to have a few notes. So dress, casual's fine, lighting, be aware of volume. You want to stick to about 2 or 3 minutes, certainly no more than 4 for this first video. And the content, again, you're introducing yourself. When I have taught this course in a traditional classroom in person, during the first night or the first day or two, depending on the format, sometimes I had a 3-hour format in the evening, and so everybody could get up. You usually would have 20 students in that kind of a format, and all the students could get up and give a brief presentation during that first night and get used to what it was like to be in front of the classroom, and nobody really had an opportunity to prepare much. It was just an opportunity to feel what it was like to be in front of the class, to get a little bit comfortable with that, and just so we could all get to know each other. Excuse me, and like just a little bit about me. I mean, I've been in Tucson now since 2006. My wife and I and our 2 boys moved here in 2006. My parents and my sister have been here since 1985, the year I graduated from college. My sister went to high school here. She actually went over to California to get a nursing degree and lived over there for 12 years, got her master's degree, became a nurse practitioner, but actually moved back here about 6 months after we did, and she recently got married this past October. And so I think Jen's probably here to stay as well. And I don't know if we are for sure, but we've certainly been here for a good 11 and a half years. We do like Tucson a lot. Grew up in southwestern Pennsylvania, a little town called Somerset, exit 10 on the turnpike. It's highly elevated for that part of the country. So we had a couple ski resorts there, and it's the kind of place where people from Pittsburgh go to ski and snowboard and snowmobile, and during the summer hike, go hunting, fishing, camping. It has some beautiful wilderness areas. It's an area called the Laurel Highlands. And then went to college at West Virginia University, also did my master's degree there. That's where I met my wife. We spent about the first dozen years of our marriage in Washington, D.C., where I worked for a large nonprofit organization as communications director and magazine editor of their membership magazine. It was also a foundation involved with it, so we did grant making and scholarship programs and so forth. And then spent 7 years back in our college town, Morgantown, West Virginia, where my boys were born. And I worked for the university there as executive director, executive assistant, basically, to the dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, and communications director for them as well. And did a little bit of work in course design for online courses, and that's where I started to get interested in this idea. So when I had the opportunity to start teaching online courses with Pima about 8 years ago, I thought it would be a great opportunity. So I've been teaching this course for about 8 years. I have been a designer on it in the past, although the latest version of it was done by our full-time communication faculty member, Tatiana Fouet, which you might have an opportunity to take a course from her down the line if you want to take an additional communication course. And I make a little bit of adjustments to it, but I hope you find it easy to navigate and a valuable course. Let's see, anything else? The next module, so that's a little bit about me. So that's what you want to do for your introductory video, basically. Oh, I didn't say I majored in journalism as an undergrad, minored in English, literature, and business administration, thought I was going to get an MBA, and in fact was in an MBA program at Ohio University for several months and decided that was not what I wanted to do. So I went back and got a master's degree in communication theory and research, and have done some doctoral work both in communication and educational psychology. But if I ever do finish up the PhD, it'll probably be in English. I like to write a lot, and I've done a lot of work with public speaking, but mostly as a speech writer. Some presentation work certainly of my own, but I've done a lot of speech writing for the dean and executive director of our nonprofit and some other folks. Whenever they would come to our events, a lot of times I would be the one drafting. Even for the President of the United States, I would be the person drafting, at least doing the initial draft for remarks for corporate CEOs and the presidents, senators, major entertainers. It was a really cool experience. So I enjoy the writing part of it very much, and you'll notice in my comments for your papers, I probably will provide more comments about grammar and mechanics than your typical public speaking instructor would, and it's because I think the writing end of it is important, and it's what I have a lot of experience in personally. Let's see, the next module. You'll notice that I have a little bit of a problem with these ums and ahs. And if you have a problem with it, we'll try to work with it. It's something you need to be really conscious about to get rid of them. It mainly comes from, often I think, not knowing exactly what you're going to say next and feeling like you've got to fill in that piece of air or time with sound. And you really don't. You can take a moment to have some silence, and that gives your audience a chance to speak, to catch up with you. So don't feel like you have to fill every single sentence with sound. It's okay to pause and to think about what you're going to say next. The next module you'll take a look at how to do research. Perhaps you've already had a composition course, Writing 101 here at Pima, or something similar to it, wherever you may be doing your undergraduate work. This is a really important part of the course, I think, and so I just want to highlight it a little bit and encourage you to use more than just what you find doing a Google search, looking at Wikipedia. Please make use of Pima's library resources, or if you're a student at the U of A, obviously the U of A has enormous library resources. Pima has a surprising amount online, so you don't necessarily have to feel like you need to go on campus. Maybe you're out of state at this time, maybe you're deployed, you're in the military and you're deployed in Afghanistan or Korea. So you're thinking, well, how can I possibly do library research? Pima has a good bit of research available online, and we even have an online librarian, Keith Rocky, R-O-C-C-I. Great guy. He'll be more than happy to help you with research you need to do for your upcoming speeches, especially for perhaps the informative speech or the demonstration speech, although you may do something, you're perfectly welcome to do something that you know how to do quite well for that presentation, but certainly for your persuasive speech, you'll be wanting to do research. So make use of Pima's library resources, and do not be shy about asking the librarians for help. Reference librarians, I mean, that's what they live for. That's what they've gone to school for. That's what they want to do. They want to help people do research, students and faculty members, and even members of the public. This is many of them have 3, 4, 5 degrees, mainly because they wanted to gain some expertise in different areas so that they could help people do research in business or whatever area they may have their degrees in. So make use of them. And there are links not only in the module, but also on the course homepage. There are links to PIMA's library resources online, and also I think there is I have a module there where you can click on it and ask a librarian a question. So make use of that. If you have problems with it, let me know. But I'm sure that these work pretty smoothly, and I've talked to Keith Rocky personally a couple times. I know he's a good guy to work with. And the other thing you'll be doing this module is your professional speaker critique. I use the term professional loosely, but there are a number of things you could do for this. You could go to a religious event, you could even one that you go to regularly. You could go to a seminar or a special presentation at the U of A. I'm sure the U of A has a number of them going on most weeks. PIMA occasionally will have some special events, and I'm sure there's things going on around town all the time that you could do. If you can't get out for one reason or another, I do often allow people to use TED Talks, ones that we don't normally require in the course, but one that you can find. If you need to do that, let me know, and we'll set some parameters. If you have questions about anyone that you'd like to consider reviewing for this project, and you are wondering whether or not it's appropriate, don't be hesitant to ask. That's coming up in a couple weeks, so you've still got plenty of time. But basically the idea is to go attend an event where someone is giving a 15 to 20 minute presentation. 15 minutes probably minimum would be great, and you're going to do a critique based on the information that we've reviewed in the course thus far, and just your own feel for it based on the public speaking experience you've had to this date. And there's a page that you can work with that you can download on your computer and work with it, and it has basic questions you want to ask in order to do that review. So interesting assignment, I think, and certainly have fun with it, and cover something hopefully that you're pretty interested in. That's about all I have for this first presentation. I don't have a schedule yet as to how often I'm going to do this. Several of us are experimenting with adding these videos to our courses in a number of disciplines, and so I started doing this about a year ago, and I'm still gaining experience and hopefully getting better at it. But hopefully you'll enjoy the experience, and certainly I think you'll find a big difference between your introductory presentation that you'll do and the final presentation that you do in the course. You'll certainly gain a comfort level in doing these kinds of videos if you find them a little awkward at first. So again, my name is Mark D'Alessandro. You've got my email through D2L, which is the best way to contact me. I don't mind being contacted through my official, PIMA email. And if you have to call me, you've got my phone number as well. That's usually sufficient. If we have to do a Skype or some other kind of meeting down the line, I'm always open to that. But for the most part, we seem to be able to get by with email and phone conversations. So with that, I wish you well on this first presentation. I look forward to getting to know each of you through them, and I certainly look forward to the discussion boards. I'm also in the process of going through your first paper assignment. those are always really interesting to read. So I will try to get those all graded by the end of the weekend for sure. All right, thanks so much for viewing this, and I look forward to getting back to you soon on some other things. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.